So we had a very busy week. My daughter's birthday, a bunch of other stuff going on. So I pushed this video off, pushed it off. But here we are, finally getting to it. I apologize. I will get Exodus 4. I hope get Exodus 4 out sooner. But this is Exodus 3. Pretty cool story. Some good stuff leaning up. I'm going through Deuteronomy right now on my own. Some people were going through Acts. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in this chapter that is brought up and talked about in these other chapters. So let's get after it. Now, chapter 3, verse 1. Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, and he led his flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Then he said, Do not come near. Take your sandals off your feet, for the place on which you are standing is holy ground. So I just think one of the things that I kind of think about there is like, do I treat, the time that I'm spending with God, whether it be in prayer, whether it be reading, whether it be in fellowship with other believers, do I treat that ground like it's holy? Do I treat the building, wherever we are, as it's holy? Here they are. They're out in the wilderness next to a bush, and he's saying, take your shoes off. This is holy ground. So I kind of keep that in mind a little bit. Verse 6, he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look at God. And the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry because of their taskmasters. I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land to a good and broad land, a land flowing with milk and honey, to the place of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. And now behold, the cry of the people of Israel has come to me, and I have also seen the oppression with which the Egyptians oppressed them. Come, I will send you to Pharaoh, that you may bring my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? He said, But I will be with you, and this shall be the sign for you that I have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you shall serve God on this mountain. And so one of the things, because like I said, I'm going through Deuteronomy on this, is in Deuteronomy 8, chapter 8, verse 7. Oh, let me flip back one page. In chapter 8, verse 7, he says, For the Lord your God is bringing you into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs flowing out in the valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley, of vines and fig trees, pomegranates, a land of olive trees and honey, a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper. And you shall eat and be full, and you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land he has given you. So this is years later, right, in Deuteronomy, and he's bringing the same promise back up. Look, I'm going to take care of you. I'm all your needs are going to be met. The land is going to flow with all the resources you need. Just trust me and go forward with this. And so it's pretty cool, right? And something else. Let me see if I think I bookmarked it. In Acts chapter 7, Stephen, the first martyr, the dude who gets stoned, and better yet, he's getting stoned while he's crying out to God. He recaps this entire story. Chapter 7, verse 4, this is in Acts. And then he went out from the land of the Chaldeans and lived in Haran. And after his father died, God removed him into this land you are now living. And so he's talking about the land, right? The same land that God in Exodus is telling Moses that his great-great-great-great-grandchildren are going to live in. Let's see here. Where else is he bringing up? And in 22, and Moses was instructed in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was mighty in his words and deeds. Why? Because God was with him. Why? Because you just saw in Exodus chapter 3, verse 12, and he said, "But I will be with you, and this shall be the sign." And so it's like all these things are recapped. All these things are talked about for generations and generations and generations. And so we shouldn't forget these things. We should be holding on to these things, remembering, okay, what did God do for his people in Egypt? Okay, if God could do all that, right? Split the sea, I mean, it could realistically, if God wouldn't have been with them, the Egyptians probably could have caught them, right? But God was with them. He protected them. He stopped them from getting caught again and re-enslaved. And so if he was able to do that for all those people, it's safe to say that he can make big moves in our individual lives, right? And then if the church, we come together in unity, what are the things that he can do for us, right? Uh, so that gets me fired up, right? Verse 13. We're back in Exodus now. Then verse 13. Then Moses said to God, "If I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers, he sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am." And he said, "Say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you." God also said to Moses, "Say this to the people of Israel, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my forever. And thus I am to be remembered throughout all generations." And so what we talk about is like, I am. I always was, I am right now, and I always will be. Nothing changes. He hasn't changed from day one, and he won't change at the end of time. He is the exact same. He says, you know, I'm the exact same person that Abraham was, the same one that Isaac was, the same one that Jacob was. I am. So just trust me. you know. He says, "Go," this is 16, "go and gather the elders of Israel together and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has appeared to me, saying, I have observed you and what has been done to you in Egypt. And I promise that I will bring you up out of the affliction of Egypt to the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey." He's repeating himself, right? He's letting them know, look, I promised the previous generations, I promised them that I was going to bless their future generations with a land. They didn't get to see it. But they trusted God and they believed in God's promise, just like we should be believing His promise of what's coming for us. And they stayed true to it, even though they knew they weren't going to see it. They believed it and they lived it out. And so He's saying here, look, they believed it, they trusted it. I promised them land. You are the generation that's going to get to see that. So 18, "And they will listen to your voice, and you and the elders of Israel shall go to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. And now, please let us go a 3 days' journey into the wilderness, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless compelled by a mighty hand," right? He's basically saying, I know that the Egyptian king is not going to let you just walk out of there and go 3 days and pay homage to me, right? Because the Egyptians worship other gods and they think their gods are almighty. And he's not going to do it unless he sees that the Hebrew God is more powerful than the Egyptian gods. "So I will stretch out." And he said, unless, in the end of 19 says, "unless compelled by a mighty hand." And in 20 says, "So I will stretch out my hand and strike Egypt with all the wonders that I will do in it. After that, he will let you go. And I will give this people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. And when you go, you shall not go empty, but each woman shall ask of her neighbor and any woman who lives in her house for silver and gold, jewelry, and for clothing. You shall put them on your sons and on your daughters, so you shall plunder the Egyptians." So not only am I going to take you out of the land of Egypt, you're going to take everything from the Egyptians. You're going to take their clothes, you're going to take their jewelry, you're going to take all the things that they hold dear. So you're not going to just leave here. You're definitely not leaving empty-handed. You're going to take everything with you, right? Which I think is huge, because it would have been a little simpler, I think, to say, hey, I'm going to take you out of there. But not only that, I'm going to take you out of there and you're going to take everything with you. Everything from the Egyptians, you're going to take it with you. And that's kind of like, delivering us from hell. and keeping us from going to hell is one thing, right? But then to bless us with the ability to then go to heaven is a whole nother level, right? So saving them from Egypt is one thing, but then also blessing them with everything from the Egyptians is huge. And that's basically foreshadowing what was to come for us. Hey, I'm delivering you from hell. We should be grateful in that. But not only am I going to deliver you from hell, now I'm also going to give you heaven, this perfect utopia. Like everything is perfect. It's huge. And so the biggest thing, the biggest takeaway for me in this chapter is like we don't have to worry about ends being meet, especially if we're living for the Lord and doing what the Lord is asking us to do. And if the Lord is asking us to, for me, it was, hey, don't give up this gym, move it into the city. You're going to reach more people that way. Use my gym, use your gym to reach more people. Pray for people. Use it as an opportunity to build relationships and go in deep with people. I'm going to take care of the rest. I'm going to make sure the bills are paid. I'm going to make sure that ends are met. And that's the only reason we've been able to stay open here in Lafayette, right? Rent went up a lot. We're hitting this economy crashing where people, but I don't worry about it, right? Because the Lord promised me that as long as I was using this place to glorify Him and we were doing things in His name, that He would make sure the ends were met. So it comes down to that faith thing, right? So yeah, that is our wrap on chapter 3. Now, the next couple chapters, we're going to see the massive miracles that God, and if you've seen, and I don't know the movies, I think one of them is like Prince of Egypt or Prince of Peace or something. I know there is a movie. I don't know if Disney made it, somebody made it, and it's like, all the plagues that came across Egypt and stuff. And this is stuff that like even the Egyptians documented. So it's not like these crazy made up stories. The Egyptians documented it. Then future historians tried to like, oh well, maybe it was this or maybe it was this, bro. For it to be that big of a deal that the Egyptians let the Hebrews go, the people they had enslaved go, it convinced them, and they documented it. It's pretty safe to say that they happened simply from the hand of God. So that's chapter 3. We had a great cookout, back to school block party. It was a good time. Next time around, we'll give a little bit more heads up so more of you can come out and join us. But that was chapter 3. We're meeting this Saturday, going over chapter 4. And there is some really cool stuff that goes on in this chapter. So stay tuned, man. Exodus is wild. It is exciting. It is all over the place. I'm so glad we came here. So yeah, if you're feeling it, you want to come out and join us Saturday morning, great 9 a.m. We'll be here, 1400 Teal Road. If not, no big deal. You can stay tuned for the video coming. If not, God bless, and hopefully we see you on the mat.